Foreign Secretary. I suppose, first of all, the question is, we're 1 year into this. Let's talk about the British public here. Should they be braced for a conflict that potentially could go on, not just for the next year, but for years and years to come?
Well, of course, what we want is for this war to come to a conclusion quickly. We're seeing tens, hundreds of thousands of people dead and wounded. We're seeing huge damage to Ukrainian infrastructure. We're seeing disruption to energy supplies, food supplies. So all of us want this to come to a conclusion. But it has to be a conclusion that respects the charter of this place, the UN Charter, which basically says you can't invade your neighbour, you can't extend your boundaries by force. And that is a principle that we have to defend, and we have to support Ukraine until they are victorious. We don't want that to drag on any longer than it has to, but we're in it for as long as it takes.
So what would you say, though, to those British public who look at the amount of money being sent to Ukraine, who look at the military aid and then look at the state of our military and think this isn't sustainable? You know, are you fearful that support could break down?
Well, of course, we are always conscious that the British people have got their own challenges. They want to ensure that they can pay their bills, and the Prime Minister is relentlessly focused on our own domestic economic improvements, and he is passionate about that. But we should all recognise that if this isn't resolved, then it will cost us more in the medium and long term. This aggression by Russia has been in large part the reason why energy bills have gone so much. That's had a knock-on effect for food prices. If this isn't resolved, the costs to us will increase, and not just us, to everyone around the world. That's why getting resolution to this is so very important.
Let's look at kind of EU relations, if you like, in this context, in the sense that, you know, relations since Brexit haven't necessarily always been at their best. Is it your sense that in some ways, actually, the Ukraine war has brought you, the UK, and the EU closer since 2016?
Well, I think what's happened is that we have been reminded that there are some incredibly important geopolitical issues where the UK and the member states of the European Union are naturally and instinctively closely aligned, and we are working together to defend the things that we value. I think we have been reminded that we are healthier, happier, wealthier, more secure when we work together. So, of course, we've been working closely with our European partners on this issue and on things like the Northern Ireland Protocol and our collective self-defence. We will always be an engaged international player, and we're very proud that countries all over the world, not just in Europe, recognise that.
How concerned are you about China potentially supplying weapons to Ukraine? That could be a game changer, couldn't it?
Well, the point that I have made publicly and directly to the Chinese authorities when I've met them is that I can understand why Russia desperately wants to have a stronger and closer relationship with China. I don't understand why China would want to import the international isolation that we're seeing here at the UN, why they would want to import that into their relationship. So the message that I would send to all countries is that there is no benefit to helping Russia when 141 countries around the world have voted to condemn Russia's actions in Ukraine.
Just very finally on this, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, said that Russia shouldn't be humiliated, maybe defeated but not humiliated. Is that the view of the British government as well, is that we know, looking at the historical context, that Russia shouldn't be humiliated in this war?
What we are relentlessly focused on is defence of the UN Charter and international law, and Ukraine's self-defence, and that is the totality of what we're trying to achieve. We saw the Russian representative in the UN chamber claim that we're trying to break Russia up or destroy Russia. That is nonsense. We are here and supporting Ukraine because they are being attacked, and I'm here at the UN because the UN Charter is under attack.
Can you be as explicit as Emmanuel Macron in saying we will not humiliate Russia?
We have no interest. We have no interest in anything other than defending the UN Charter and Ukrainian self-defence. And the world should recognise that. And this war could come to an immediate conclusion if Vladimir Putin were only to recognise that.
Let's move on to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Ursula von der Leyen spoke to the Prime Minister today. There's an expectation of a deal. How close are we?
Well, look, It's really difficult to predict these things. We've been negotiating in good faith for quite some time. I had always committed not to give a running commentary, which I know is frustrating to your viewers and my political colleagues alike, but it has proven to be a successful formula thus far, and so I'm going to stick with it. Of course, we want to get this resolved. The people of Northern Ireland deserve to have their institutions back up and running. They deserve to be a fully integrated part of the United Kingdom, which of course they are. We want to protect that. We want to protect East-West trade. These are the things that we are negotiating. The negotiations, of course, have been tough. They've been complicated, but they've been entered into in good spirit with good faith. I really hope that we can get this resolved, but we will resolve this when we have addressed all the issues that we're seeking to resolve, rather than some arbitrary deadline.
So can I ask three principal questions then, if you're not going to do a running commentary? I mean, how important is the DUP support? Essentially, is it vital to this deal? Just on principle, that the DUP need to agree to it?
Well, we want to make sure that all the communities in Northern Ireland and their representatives, including the unionist community and the unionist political parties, plural, are comfortable with the arrangements that are in place. That underpins the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
So it sounds like a yes.
That we get cross-community support. We want to make sure the people, the politicians and the businesses feel meaningfully part of the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister is a unionist. I'm a unionist. I'm a unionist to the soles of my feet, and that will always be at the forefront of our negotiations.
And just finally on this, Suella Braverman, some of your other cabinet colleagues have said that the Northern Ireland Protocol bill, should not be ditched in this deal. Is that your position again? Is that your principal position, that has to remain?
Well, the whole point of these negotiations and the whole point of us laying the bill in the first place was to give us multiple ways of trying to address the issues with the Northern Ireland Protocol. So my focus is on getting the result rather than the mechanism to get the result. We've always said the bill's there, it's important, and but our preferred option is a negotiated option. But as I say, the bill is there and the negotiations are ongoing. But ultimately, I would say to everyone, I've said this publicly before, we remain focused on the outcome rather than the method, and the outcome is to protect Northern Ireland's place in the United Kingdom, to make sure that people and businesses and the political representatives of those people in Northern Ireland are comfortable with the resolution, whilst also making sure that we protect the UK internal market. Those are very much our motivations. That's what will drive our actions.
Okay, just two final points away from that. One is on opinion polls. I mean, the Conservative Party, if anything, seems to be getting worse in terms of their lead. How disheartening is that, when it seems that increasing numbers of the public simply do not want you guys in government anymore?
Well, the message that I've been picking up, both on the doorstep and looking at the granularity of opinion polls, is that Labour have spectacularly failed to make the case. Now, I know that what we need to do is demonstrate to the British people that we are addressing the issues that they concern about, bringing down inflation, making sure interest rates come down, growing the economy, cutting those NHS waiting lists, stopping the small boats. These are the things that we are relentlessly focused on. And as the British people see success in those areas, I think that they will be reassured that the Conservative Party is the best party of government, because we will be increasingly looking at the Labour Party's failure to be on the right side of any of these arguments, whether it's being on the wrong side of industrial disputes, whether it's being on the wrong side in terms of our departure from the European Union. Time after time after time, the Labour Party have got it wrong, and the Conservative Party is focused on delivering for the British people.
Can you give a cast iron guarantee that you're not going to change leader before the next election, no matter how bad the polls get? And I know you're a former boss, that there's no way back for Boris.
So my focus, the Prime Minister's focus, the whole of government's focus, the whole of the parliamentary party's focus, the whole of the party in the country's focus is delivering for the British people, getting on top of those things that I said, growing the economy,
no change
cutting
of
the interest rates,
no change of
cutting
leader.
the NHS
it's pretty
waiting
easy
list,
to say, isn't it?
Stopping the small boats, and delivering for the British people. And that's what the PM and every single other government minister should be focused on, and indeed are focused on.
Give you one more chance, no change of leader?
We are focused on the British people. Seriously, I know you love it. I know politicos love it, and I know within the Westminster bubble they love it. This kind of, this in the Westminster bubble obsession. The bottom line is, I am not going to do political belly button gazing. I am here to look after the UK's interests internationally, and the Prime Minister is relentlessly focused on serving the British people.
Okay, and just very, very finally, I promise, and it is on that role of being Foreign Secretary. I mean, it's quite intense. It's a massive brief. It's a lot of travel. I mean, it must be exhausting. I mean, I'm exhausted covering you, let alone being you.
Look, I've got a fantastic job. I get to promote the UK on the international stage, and listening to how other countries view the UK, it makes me proud. I've just come from the UN Security Council chamber. I've had conversations with my international counterparts who are incredibly grateful for the UK's leadership on this issue. And it really, really is a reminder that we are still a very important and significant player on the world stage. It is an exhausting job, but it is an incredibly important job, and I'm proud to have it.
And how does the Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, chill out? Chillax, if you like.
Chillax. Sleep is my preferred method. But I think, as you know, I've let the cat out of the bag about my painting of miniatures, and I don't know whether. But sitting down on those rare occasions where I get an opportunity, spending time with my family is the best way to relax.
Foreign Secretary, thank you very much.
Thank you, Darren. Cheers.